What are you letting get in the way of your passion? What is it that you want to do that you've just made excuses and you're afraid that you don't have time and you can't bring it into your life? So that's the question I'm asking today. You had to excuse the train. At this point in recording, I don't edit. If I did, I'd destroy everything. So it's all about imperfection, just showing up and doing it. So, in the same way with writing, that's a good point, showing up and doing it. Like, I am a writer, I'm an author, I'm a storyteller. But prior to that, I didn't consider myself a writer. Essentially, what I did is I would express myself, I would tell stories. I love sharing information. I love digesting, breaking down, understanding, and then sharing information. Like my kids, to the point of I try to lecture them more than I try to spank them different times. But essentially, they were like, "Dad, just spank me, get it over with," which I didn't. But basically, it was the point of the people around you when you're doing something. If you're learning to play guitar, the people around you, they don't hear the master guitar person that spent hundreds of hours, doing licks or singing and vocal exercises. What they hear is the becoming. They hear all that annoying noises and the same chord over and over and over again. Well, the same thing with storytelling. As I perfected my craft, and I'm not perfect at it by any means, that's not the point, but my family kind of got tired of hearing stories, so to speak. I mean, and also as a child, I had to learn to not share. I had to learn to pull back and say less so I could learn a lesson of the power of words. And also because as a child, I had a rough childhood, some parents, but most essentially around you, like your surroundings, I moved around a lot as a kid. So essentially, boohoo my childhood. Not to say that your childhood isn't, I'm just saying I'm at the point right now where my childhood, it doesn't define me. It created the person that I am now, but I'm redefining that. I'm reparenting myself. And so before I go off on a tangent, I'm saying like you have to be like that. You have to honor your childhood, but the bad parts about it really weren't, I don't want to say good or bad, but they were something that created you. You know, you can take the bad in it, you can take the good in it, or you can just take the lessons from it. So I apologize if I offended you by saying boohoo childhood, and I was saying boohoo my childhood because I don't feel that way anymore. I don't cry about my childhood. I love my parents. My mom, she's gone to heaven or wherever. I do believe in heaven. I also, irregardless, I believe in reincarnation. I believe in a lot of things, and they're consistently growing and expanding. But my church raising, my mom's in heaven. I'm still learning and figuring that out. But my stepdad is around, my dad is around, my stepmom is around. I have family. But in the raising of me, my surroundings were really what was hard to deal with as a child. And so I learned to shut down and I learned to go within. And so basically now I'm expanding and I'm affirming my storytelling capabilities. I'm stepping into being a writer. And what I really wanted to talk about is getting in the flow of writing. So in my writing, I'm going back and I'm expanding. I wrote the first 30 chapters. I decided to add three more so far. I may not stick with that. The whole point of writing is you write, you write, you write. You're not trying to write to be perfect. You're trying to write to get it down. And you can always go back and change it later. You can remove entire chapters. You can remove paragraphs. You can refine. You can put the bones down and then realign them, restructure it. The point is to do the work, to put it in, to just do it, to express yourself, to get into flow. And fortunately, apparently, because I've read, obviously, I read books, but I've never truly read. I'm not like a book lover like some people who just get into a good book. I never allowed myself that for whatever reason. But in the same way that people love reading, I love watching movies. I love watching TV shows. So I love seeing the creativity there. I get to see it in action. And now, granted, what I've read, I truly enjoyed because it's the mind stage. You're able to create it how you think it should be. But so I'm getting there. I'm going to get back into reading. I don't know what happened somewhere. I just fell asleep into the world, into the work. and being exhausted to read and stuff, turn on a TV show, you sit there and like zone out. So I do want to get back into reading, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying this is where I come from. And in writing, though, I'm appreciating reading so much more, because I'm reading what I wrote, and because I was able to tap in and I didn't know the structure, the how to, the have tos, the rules of writing. It's like if someone's going to be an artist and they love painting, so they just dive into the theory of it and they just see all the different types of ways to paint and everything else. Well, me myself, I I haven't dove into the theory of writing, so I have the freedom to express myself and be wrong. And if you are someone that has went and you know exactly how to write, you know all the structures, the paragraphs, the punctuations, the lyricism, the literary, all of it. If you know all that, that's great. But when you're writing, you have to let that go. You have to get out of your head, get out of your mind, drop into your heart. So meditate beforehand. Sometimes the way that I do it, my meditative practice isn't necessarily meditating. It's reading the chapter before or reading the latter half, at least a few hundred words, and then pondering, and then looking at the title that I have for the chapter and just kind of getting in that energy and flow of, well, what does this look like in her world? In my main character's world, what does this look like? What does it look like to her? And I start writing, and then I go in there and I play with it. Now, I have wrote 1,000 words at a time. I'm not that good yet at flowing. I'm getting the hang of it, but I write and then I ponder, and it's more of a reflection. And then I look at it, and then when I've wrote a bit and it feels complete, I'm like, okay, I write scene by scene almost. So in the end of the scene, I'm like, okay, this is great. But now what? How can I love wordplay. So how can I take a different perspective, a different change? How can I flip it another way, to look at it another way, to use the words, or to write something that falls in the same theme? And I do that, and I write until the chapter feels done. So now that I'm going back though, and I'm looking at the writing, I'm not able to change that much. Like it feels like it is what it is. And in some of it, where there's parts like, okay, in between scenes, I look at this. Do I extend the scene? Well, this particular scene, the words were very powerful. If I extend the scene, I'm robbing from the value of the words. It's like less is more kind of thing. And so then I'm like, okay, well, now in between these scenes, can I fit something between the scenes? Sometimes I can, sometimes it doesn't feel right. So it's really interesting in doing that. And it really makes me respect what I already wrote in the flow. Because this particular, that I'm not necessarily in the flow, I'm putting myself back in the story and I'm saying, is there more to be said about this particular scene? Is there more to be said in between the scenes in regards to the chapter title? Okay, should I add to the ending? Like some chapters, the ending flows into the beginning of the next day. And then sometimes they don't. So that's actually how I was able to find out 3 places I could add another chapter to extend and still get what I want out of there, get more depth, because I'm wanting to extend my words. I think I was at 51,000 words, which is great, but my goal was 110 to 130,000. Again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I jump on there with AI and I have conversations. I haven't actually talked to any authors about the type of book that I'm writing and like what does that mean structure wise, like how many words per chapter. So I am using a lot of AI, but when I use the AI and I use it as a mirror and I ask it a few questions, but then I say, does that feel right? Does that make sense? I do a little bit of research online for these numbers to figure out. But in there, I'm wanting to expand and get the amount of words, but I don't want fluff. I don't want fat. Like if I'm building something, if I'm let's just say that I'm building a model of a creature. Well, I want a well-toned creature. You've got your muscle, you've got your bone, you've got your skin. I'm not trying to be graphic, but I'm saying what I don't want is I don't want a big fat animal. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't think of a better way because fluff is the word. I guess if I was to make a figure, I don't know. If I was to make a figure, you want to kind of, you're not trying to build the ideal body, but you want something that has purpose. Everything in this book has to have purpose. It functions. It has a function in the same way, like so muscles and fat does have a function, but you don't want to excess that. So I'm trying to have function in this without writing too much extra that just doesn't fit. I want the story to progress nicely. And there's a lot I'm trying to do with this, and I really want it to show through because I'm very passionate about the artisticness of it. So like if you're painting, that's probably a better thing. If you're painting, you're drawing the lines of what you're wanting to paint. And now you have the lines drawn. Well, do you want to add any more pictures to it? Sometimes a simple tree on a hilltop is a tree on a hilltop. You don't want a forest up there. The tree is what you need. The tree has purpose. If you put a forest, that takes away from the tree, it's distracting. I don't want to distract. I want the reader to flow. I want them to understand, and I want them to really absorb the story. So I'm trying to make everything have a purpose and a reason, and I'm trying to add content to expand the story so that it can breathe better, so it can have more depth. I'm not trying to just put filler in there. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to. And all this comes back to when you're writing in flow, you would be amazed when you're writing intuitively, when you're writing from your heart and not your mind, when you're writing out of a love for the project, not a fear of not enough words. That was my thing. At first, I was not enough words. Oh no. But then I was like, I feel done though. I can make another pass. I can do the main character's story arc from beginning to end. Great. That's what I did. Second run through. Well, that's where I'll go ahead and expand. And now, mind you, I'm in chapter 5 of expanding it. So there's not a lot of expansion because it's the opening. It's opening, and it's the main character as she expands herself, as she breathes through the book. In the first 5 chapters, there's some interaction, but I don't want to overwhelm with all these. Here's 20 new characters, and you're like, wait, who's Bob, Frank, Jenny, Walter? Who is this? Who are these people? So I want to try to introduce slowly people that are there for a purpose. They're there to mirror what Rook is going through, to mirror a lesson. Now they're not there to steal the show. It's her show. It's the main character's show in this particular first book. It's all about her and her growth. So in there, I don't want a bunch of characters. I don't want anything to overwhelm the reader. I don't want you to have to memorize all these people and what their purpose is, So in there, as I'm expanding now, further on, I'll be able to do more expansion. But again, it's not about the word count. It is, but it's not. I allowed myself just to write, and I can go back later. You can always go back until you're on your final edits. You can always go back. Just keep pushing through, and then fill in the gaps, then fill in the holes. So in your life, where is it something this is similar? Maybe writing isn't your thing, but maybe you can bring your passion to what you're doing. Maybe for now, maybe your passion isn't something you're just supposed to quit your job or quit your company or quit your business or whatever you're doing. Maybe it's not something you're supposed to do right now 110%. Maybe it's something you do that you're passionate about. Maybe you can either do it in your spare time, or maybe that passion, you can do it while you're doing your 9 to 5. You can do it in the now. Whatever your process is, whatever your things are you have to do on a daily basis. Maybe you are a stay-at-home parent. Or, maybe, who knows? I don't know your story, but what I'm trying to say is, in your daily tasks, maybe you can bring your passions to those and then become better at your tasks, but also be able to really breathe, be able to live a life fulfilled, to bring what makes you happy into your life. Don't put it up on a shelf for one day. Don't put it up in your specialty sweets cabinet that you can only have a teaspoon a day because you don't want to embellish in it. Put it somewhere where you can introduce it and bring it to your day more and more. Do you have a moment to think about it? Think about it. In a group that I'm in, the main person who runs it, Nino, she was telling me, sit down and meditate on your character. Have a conversation with them, your main character. Ask what they want. Be able to sit down and really let your story breathe. You got a 15-minute break at work? Grab a drink, sit down and drink, and just think about your story. Write notes down. or maybe you've got a passion project that you can design, you can draw it out on paper, you can think about it and write notes. There's always something you can do to bring your passions or the things that make you happy into your existence now, and not put them up on a shelf for later, and not just dabble in them, but gain your skill. Who are you going to be if you were that thing? If you were that thing 110%, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and maybe not even that, because even then you have to balance and flow things. But I'm just saying, if that's something that you do that's full time, with your time, what are the skills you would need? What is something you can do in the now that brings you into the energy of that, or that brings information or talents or skills to you now that will prepare you so that it brings you one step closer? So that's kind of where I'm at. And that's what I'm trying to get through in this video, to tell you that take imperfect action. Take steps now. Do it wrong. Just do it. Find ways that you can just do it in your life right now. Don't put it away for later. The time is now to do these things. You only have one life to live in this experience. No matter what you believe, if you believe in multiple lives, if you believe in reincarnation, no matter what you believe, you'll never be this you again. Even in reincarnation, you carry part of you over, supposedly, but you don't get to live this life again with all the same circumstances, all the same people, all the same options, opportunities, and lessons. So take this life that you have right now, take this gift of life. No matter how hard you have it, somebody else has got it worse. Somebody else has got it better. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what their lessons are. You don't know what they deserve. But you are deserving. If it's in your mind and it's in your heart and it doesn't hurt anybody, it's for the betterment of you, then it's for the betterment of everybody else. So live it. Live your life. Live your purpose. Be happy. Choose yourself and choose to bring the things that make you happy into your life right now, any way that you can, a little bit at a time, and integrate them into your life. I love you guys. Thank you for staying around this long. I appreciate it. We're looking at 17 minutes. Awesome. So talk to you guys in the next video. Comment below. Small channel right now, so plenty of engagement as we move forward. I'll do my best to answer questions, just to say hello, drop in the comments, like, share, subscribe. Love you guys. Talk to you in the next video.